Good morning, I'm Ryan Beachy with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Top of the news this morning. The police post at the Eddie Hart grounds is officially up, despite a meeting being planned between the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation and the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, UDCOT, set to be held today. Now, on Sunday morning, Tunapuna MP Roger Alexander and his cabinet colleague, local government minister Khadija Amin, both posted to social media highlighting the erection of the police post. The installation of the post has been a point of contention as the corporation says they were not consulted about its construction. The corporation issued a notice of violation. When contacted yesterday, corporation chairman Josiah Austin said he did not wish to comment until after Monday's meeting with UDCOT. In other news, United States Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Lando is in Trinidad and Tobago as Washington and Port of Spain move to deepen cooperation, particularly on energy, security and economic cooperation. Lando, the second-ranking official at the U.S. State Department, is scheduled to meet with Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar during his two-day visit. The Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs says the talks will focus on advancing cooperation and turning the stronger partnership between both countries into practical benefits. Lando's visit comes amid growing U.S. military and security cooperation with Trinidad and Tobago. The United States Southern Command recently activated a joint task force, Western Hemisphere, to coordinate military operations with regional allies and partners to counter drug trafficking and strengthen security. U.S. Navy SEALs are also in the country, with the Prime Minister previously saying they will work alongside local security forces on border protection, drug interdiction, and internal security. Lando is expected to leave Trinidad on Tuesday. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is this morning dismissing a complaint filed against her by former Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Minister Dr. Amory Brown over alleged racial slurs posted on her Facebook account. Dr. Brown claims the Prime Minister repeatedly used the word in a manner that was insulting, offensive and designed to incite animosity and hatred. He has since lodged a formal complaint with the Equal Opportunity Commission. But when contacted by CNC3 News yesterday, Persad-Bissessar dismissed both Brown and the Commission, calling them, quote, two non-entities who influence absolutely no one making comments to be in the news, end quote. Equal Opportunity Commission Chairman Ian Roach confirmed the complaint was lodged. He says it will now go through the normal process, stressing that the Commission is not a court of law, but investigates and seeks to conciliate complaints. Roach says if the matter is resolved between the parties, it will go no further. If not, it could advance to the Equal Opportunity Tribunal, which has the authority to determine whether a sanction or fine should be imposed. Well, those were your 6 a.m. news headlines. Stay with us. We'll have another news update for you at the top of the hour right here on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. And be sure to join us for our major newscast happening at midday.
Dressing up in my red, white and black. I don't care what nobody say. Every carnival I done day. Plus I know all artists and all.
Did realize the morning brew starts with so much pump. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and all of our international viewers watching us, streaming us on the World Wide Web. And a very special good morning to you. Yes, you who's watching us at this hour. You're awake because you choose to be. Well, we salute you. And if you're awake because you have no choice, that is, of course, because you have to be at work by 6 a.m. An even bigger shout out to you. You're already winning the day. I have to tell you, it took me about a cup and a half of coffee to get to this level of enthusiasm this early in the morning. But it is really good to be back. It's been almost 4 years since I've hosted the Morning Brew program, and a lot has changed since then. For starters, this chair is definitely more comfortable than the one I sat on in the last 4 years. And Nikisha still isn't making breakfast for her crew. But what hasn't changed is that there's always something happening in this country that demands a conversation. And this morning, one of the biggest conversations is government's plan to establish the 30 joint police and army posts across the country. Will more boots on the ground actually make us safer? How will these posts operate? What powers will soldiers have, and can greater visibility make a meaningful difference in the fight against crime? We're going beyond that announcement this morning with a criminologist, Dr. Randy Sipasad, political scientist, Dr. Indira Brahmasad, and we check in with the business community to examine what this could really mean for this country. And that's just a start. On the last lap, Jassy takes over with everything CPL because, of course, the greatest party in sport is back, and there's a lot to unpack. So whether you're already on the road, already at work, or just waking up and joining us again, a very special good morning to you. We're glad you're here with us. Let's have that conversation this morning. And we take a look now at the Guardian newspaper, the front page. Location shift for Independence Day parade. Now, it's still at the Queen's Park Savannah, but it's not going to be at the grandstand this year. It is going to be taking place opposite the President's house. And this year's parade will be in a new northerly location in the Queen's Park Savannah, as I mentioned to you earlier, facing President's house instead of the grandstand on the Savannah's southerly side. Now, President Christine Kangler will therefore be receiving the Independence Day salute from the armed forces a lot closer. Now, government officials have already mentioned that this move will help them save millions of dollars, and it will help spectators get a little more shade in there, because I know that for some people, they're very eager to see the parade, but they also complain about the heat and so on. So we can only wait and see what that day will bring for us. And you can read much more about that story on page 5. And also on the front page, Benjai apologizes for racial rant on social media. So soca artist Benjai has apologized for a social media post which sparked criticism and offended members of the public amid heightened racial tensions in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, with a video posted online yesterday, Benjai said he recognized that a post he made the previous day had offended a lot of people and said that was not his intention. That story you can read on page 7. All right, and another story we've been covering for you, and that is the contentious police post at the Eddie Hart grounds. Now, today, the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, they'll be meeting with UDCOT, but even as that meeting is set to take place today, the post is already up. Interviews last week with several members of that community, including vendors and so on, they've said that they're not opposed to the post, and the corporation has in fact said that they're also not opposed to the post, but they have not been consulted, which is a point that they are trying to make. All right, so that is a look at your front page. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more for you. Oh, I apologize. We have to go to the back page now. Forgive me, it's been 4 years, guys. It's been 4 years. So, Woods misses out on bronze. TNT 4x100 meter relay teams come up short in World Juniors. And that picture there, South Africa's Andre Etuzen Center is tackled by Argentina's Faustino Sanchez Valorolo and Agustin Moyano during a rugby test match in Buenos Aires, Argentina on Saturday. And taking a look at our briefs now. A lovely light moment right in the center of that page. Anchorage rocks with Pop Music Awards Fest. The heat of national conversations was shaken off yesterday by patrons at the Pop Music Awards Festival at Anchorage in Chaguaramas. The venue is marking its 30th year of hosting the annual summer event with 2 concerts featuring 15 bands. The first event featuring 8 groups was held yesterday. Another showcasing 9 is carded for August 23rd. The lineup of bands for yesterday's show featuring Yasha, Kyle Tristan, Luke Young Wing, Ariana Lutan, and the Anomaly Central-based band Jericho with Evan Moon, Howling Dog, Grass Project, Twilight District, Pooty, and the Soulfish and Life Force. All right. So we head across now, and as we mentioned to you, and we remind you that all of the TKR matches are live on CNC3. You don't want to miss it. And as I mentioned to you earlier, Jassy will be joining us later on in this program, and he will be unpacking all things CPL for us. It's now time for a break. We'll be right back.
Exclusively on CNC3, August 7th through September 20th. You don't want to miss the action. The Republic Bank CPL 2026, only on CNC3. Passion, energy, and cricket live here. Brought to you by
my parents' generation grew up with Royal Castle. From the first restaurant in 1968, when that distinctive, tempting aroma hit the air. Like never before, fried chicken with a special blend of local seasonings and a one-of-a-kind flavor down to the bone. Today, Royal Castle still have that same delicious taste, and I love it too. And the kids, they have more to enjoy. For me, the Castle is more than just nice food. It's we own, part of me and you, and is the real flavor of TNT.
KC Ginger Mint, your trusted and natural wellness. Now with healthier options. KC Ginger Mint with honey and lime. KC Ginger Mint with orange and KC Ginger Mint with lemon. KC Ginger, honey, lemon, lime, and orange. Natural and trusted for generations for soothing sore throats and digestion and boost immunity. Get your new KC Candy Ginger Mint extended range today and breathe naturally.
Okay, let me see you Cherry Hill. Yeah, now take it back. Let me see you rock off, shake off. Let me see you rock off. Let me see you kick right. Now step forward, now step back.
Lucozade, bring the energy.
Rock off,
unbeatable
rock
taste,
off.
new look.
Shake off. Let me see you rock off.
Most subscribed newspaper in print and digital editions is bringing the best consumer marketplace for classified advertising. Now you can get the highest reach and impact when you place your Guardian classifieds with our in-person, online, and our WhatsApp 24-hour hotline service at 3533 GMI. That's 353-3464. But that's not all. Book your ads now and visit any of ShowPay's 42 locations, including all Massey stores nationwide. It's that simple with Guardian Classifieds. Why wait? Sell it now. Call or WhatsApp today. That's 353-3464.
Volleyball filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
Welcome back. It's Monday, and Sarud Ramkilawan is, of course, a staple in the Monday program of the Morning Brew. Sarud, how's everything been?
Vita, it's been quite good. Good morning and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the Boss Report. Well, today we're kicking off our review of earnings season with two of the larger institutions listed on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. We're talking, of course, about Republic Financial Holdings Limited as well as Guardian Holdings Limited. Now, both groups would have reported fairly contrasting results for their respective financial periods. Let's take a look at what they would have reported and what investors might expect in the coming months ahead. Turning firstly to RFHL or Republic, the group would have reported for their 9-month fiscal period of 2026 and the June earnings per share figure of $9.39, which was a 2.2% improvement from the $9.19 reported in that prior comparable period of 2025. Now, net interest income was quite an impressive improvement, rather, up 7.3% over the comparable periods. Just over 4.04 billion to 4.34 billion. Again, that's 7.3% increase. Operating income overall up 7.6% from 5.64 billion to 6.07 billion. Operating profits ultimately increasing 9.6% from 2.58 billion to just about 2.83 billion. Net profit before tax, however, did have a more modest increase, up 2.6% from 2.27 odd billion to just about 2.33 billion, with net profit attributable to equity holders ultimately increasing just about 1.6% from 1.50 to 1.52 billion dollars for that 9-month period. Now, when we take a look at operating income trends, we can see in that greenish segment the roughly 7% increase in that, or over 7% increase in that net interest income from that 4.04 to 4.34 billion dollars. Other income also improved just over 8%, in fact, from 1.60 billion to just about 1.7 billion. But as we take a look over a more prolonged period from the 9-month period of 2022 to the 9-month period of 2026, we can see that there has been consistently improving operating income for RFHL over those consecutive periods. Now, when we take a look at profit before tax contribution by geographical segment, some important points to note. Trinidad and Tobago, the largest contributor still for that 9-month period, was up just around 2% from 1.9 billion to just about 1.94 odd billion dollars in that reddish segment. In terms of other major contributors, Guyana was actually up just about 23 odd percent in that pinkish segment, from 331 million in PBT to 407 million. The Eastern Caribbean up 26% from 210 million to 265 odd million, while Cayman Islands fairly significant as well, up just around 10.7 odd percent from 325 to 360 odd million. Overall, fairly positive results and fairly broadly improved operating performances across all geographic segments for RFHL. Now, for investors, of course, over the past couple of months, we've seen some stabilization and modest improvement in the stock price of RFHL. On a longer term trend, we can see that investors would, of course, be hoping that we get back to $140 odd level in terms of the stock price. But there has been somewhat of a decline, and we are seeing, of course, at this point in time, some degree of stabilization in RFHL stock price at around, or consolidating around at 108 to 110 odd level at the current point in time. However, when we take a look at trailing earnings per share trend, we can see again, like revenue or operating income, rather consistent improvement over those past few periods, with trailing earnings per share at this particular point in time at around just under $13.70 per share. Now, what does that mean from a valuation perspective? Well, as we can see, the stock has gotten, on a relative basis, relatively cheaper, falling from a multiple or price earnings multiple of 16.2 times to just about 8 times. So what does this mean in plain terms for investors? Well, for every dollar of earnings generated by the company back in 2022, you would have had to pay 16 times that, whereas right now, you're just paying 8 times that dollar of earnings generated to acquire a stock of RFHL. So when we take a look at the banking sector averages, again, a fairly healthy dividend yield for RFHL at around 5.5% compared to that banking sector average of 5.2%. And it is on the lower end in absolute terms to its comparable companies on the sector of around an 8 times price to earnings ratio. So again, at that last price of 109.59, RFHL is trading at that P ratio of 8 times, below the banking sector average of 10.7 times, pretty much in line with the average dividend yield for the banking sector. So with that higher revenue in mind, modest earnings growth, but continued positive earnings momentum, geographical diversification, as well as relatively attractive dividends, BOSS is maintaining its market overweight rating on RFHL for the time being with a stable outlook. Turning very quickly to GHL, and for their fiscal 6-month period or half year ended 2026 June, the group would have reported an earnings per share from continuing operations of $1.53, which was a 10% decline from the $1.70 reported in that prior comparable period of 2025. Insurance service results were up 10.9% from 425.7 to 471 million. Net income from all activities, however, did decline just around 4% from 961.7 to 923 odd million, driven by some fair value, or swing rather, in fair value gains to losses over the comparable periods. Operating profits down 9.3%, and ultimately profit attributable to equity holders on a reported basis down 66%. Again, focusing on continuing operations, down just about 10% over the comparable periods. Now, when we take a look at operating profit by segment, some notable changes in the major segments. Life, health, and pension, for example, that operating profit would have declined from 416.5 to 337 odd million, roughly a 19% decline there. That was partially offset by improvement in the property and casualty segment from 174.7 in this orangish color to 187.7 million, which would have represented roughly a 7.4 to 7.5% increase. Now, importantly for GHL shareholders, we can see that book value has consistently increased over the past few consecutive periods and now currently rests at about $29 per share. Compare this to the trading price of GHL, which is just around that $16 mark. And what does that mean for investors? Well, again, from a valuation perspective, relatively cheap when using the price to book multiple, which has come down from 1.5 times in the fiscal 2022 period, 2.6 times in the most recently concluded period, which might represent, from some perspectives, some quite attractive value for investors who would be looking at GHL as a potential addition to their portfolio. So at a price of $16.25, GHL is trading at a price to earnings ratio of 4.5 times, well below the sector average of 11.1 times, and offers investors a quite juicy dividend yield of 6.7% above that sector average of 5%. With those high insurance revenues in mind, relatively attractive valuations, and appealing dividend yield, and acquisition activity, however, keeping an eye on those fair value volatility impacts to earnings, BOSS is maintaining for the time being a market weight rating on GHL with a stable outlook. Well, that's it for this week's edition. For more information, you can give us a call at 226-8773 or to BOSS, email us at info@bossfinancial.com. And of course, you can check out our website, bossinvestment.com, where all of our research is absolutely free. And you can catch this article in today's business section of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper. So until next time, stay safe, happy investing, and we'll see you again on the BOSS Report.
Period nights don't have to look like this. Move less, wake up to change. So change for a real night's sleep with Always Overnight. Its 3 times protection system absorbs, locks the fluid, and keeps it away from your skin. For protected nights without leaks. Always.
Every project begins with a vision. A roof built to last. Windows that open new possibilities. Coatings that protect. Finishes that transform. At RSL Group, we supply and install trusted building solutions for residential, commercial, and industrial projects. Proudly serving Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana while exporting throughout the Caribbean. We're helping build stronger communities, one project at a time. RSL Group, experience you know, quality you can trust.
Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. That should big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Temitoma, and Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Cuba, Chaguanas, and Pleasance Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
At Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center, we're all about time. In fact, once you check in, there's no time to lose. Reconnect with a little family time. Make a splash with some pool time. Spend some treasured quality time. Or just immerse yourself in some quiet time. Indulge your senses at dinner time. We even have the perfect venue when it's your celebration time. So it's high time you visit Cruise Inn. Choose our day pass or call 607-4000 to make your dinner or hotel reservations or to find out more about our event spaces. Take a time out at Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center.
Join Lester Suklau for a 1-minute feature, A Moment with Destiny, every Monday between 6:30 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. on CNC3 television. A Moment with Destiny.
Welcome back to the Morning Brew program here on CNC3. I just want to say thank you to Sarud for joining us again. Every morning you can tune in and you will get your look at what's taking place in the world of finance and investment. But for now, we continue the discussion. There's been much debate surrounding the 30 police units government announced recently. And if you did not get a chance to read the Guardian newspaper just yet, well, you want to go pick up one, because the Homeland Security Minister, yesterday he indicated to reporters that government is in fact reconsidering some of the locations initially identified for the program. And he also indicated that there are 6 remaining posts, locations that they have to determine. Well, those are still being worked on. Previously, the top cop, the police commissioner, he indicated that the locations of these posts will be situated based on crime trends and data that the TTPS works on a regular basis. To join our conversation this morning, we have criminologist Dr. Randy C. Prasad. Dr. Randy C. Prasad, the fact that government is now looking to, I want to say, shift around these units, do you believe that this is some sign that maybe this this initiative is moving a little too quickly, and maybe the kinks aren't just quite ironed out yet?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. The thing is, crime patterns will change spatially over time. And in all honesty, it's better that government is responsive and moves quickly rather than too slowly. You know, quite often you hear accusations that government is taking too long to get things done. And we're seeing very much the opposite in this particular situation. So when you have crime statistics, the CAPA division within the police service is able to analyze those statistics almost in real time. And it means, therefore, that if these police posts, I don't think they're actually mobile, perhaps they're much more temporary, might be a better word than mobile. It means that you can move them from one place to another if necessary. So it means that they are strategic in the sense that you can be responsive to the crime situation. If the crime situation changes and there's another geographic location that is in greater need of police presence, then it means you might be able to remove the police post from one area, put it in another area where you could more effectively deter crime. So this is not necessarily a negative thing.
Now, when we spoke to citizens last week, a lot of them would have indicated that they are in support of any initiative that makes them feel safer, this one being no different. But I want to ask you about the timing of the rollout of this particular initiative, seeing that the state of emergency is carted to come to an end mid-September. I mean, I've lost track at this point of how long we've been operating under a state of emergency.
Mm-hmm. So nothing is wrong with the timing of it. In fact, the state of emergency has provided.
I think a lot of people are shocked by how quickly these structures are going up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's not a bad thing at all. As I said, the responsiveness is something that's very, very good. And one of the things it may suggest, and I'm certainly not sure, but it may suggest that government is trying to transition out of a state of emergency as a crime control strategy. But one of the things that is very, very clear is that the state of emergency has been associated with a significant decline in crime. And I'm not talking just murders, but I'm talking across the board, types of street crimes that you would expect a state of emergency to be responsive to. So the police posts really, I would say, should be seen as a welcome strategy, because it means then that the police are more accessible to a wider range of geographic spaces. It really implies that their response time should improve. If incidents should happen, it means deeper integration into a wider range of communities, meaning that you can use it as an opportunity to build relationships and trust with the public, etc. So indeed, it's something that I would see as a positive move.
We'll get into the police heightened visibility in a bit, but I do want to ask this question. There are some who are describing this as a backdoor version of the ZOSO legislation, which we know would have collapsed in Parliament, in Senate in particular, in January. Now, we had the defense minister saying that this is in no way any part of that plan, but then later came the Homeland Security minister, who sort of contradicted that, saying that this is sort of shouldering with the ZOSO legislation. From what you've seen so far in terms of this rollout, do you think this could be some version of ZOSO?
I wouldn't necessarily see it in that particular context. The ZOSO approach is one where you saturate certain geographic areas with...
But isn't that what is actually happening with these units?
Well, where I was going is that is part of, and only indeed a very small part of the ZOSO operation. The core of the ZOSO operation, as it has been operationalized in different jurisdictions across the world, is that the police presence is just one small element. What really comes after is the critical part. So you're talking about using the calm and the peace that you're able to create in a particular place to then bring in the services, such as the social workers, the psychological services, the educators, etc., to really get at the root causes of the crime problem in certain communities and families, etc. So this is something that is absent in this particular case, and I'm not saying that government isn't doing that in other spheres, because indeed they are. But
can you identify some of the programs you've noticed are helping with what you just mentioned?
Right. So under the Ministry of Homeland Security, with the directorship of Mr. Zahir Ali, the policy section of that ministry is very, very heavily engaged with the education sector, the social services sector, with the universities, with psychologists, with social workers, in trying to diagnose the problems in particular areas in Trinidad and Tobago, and in bringing services to communities. So a good example is the work that the ministry is doing with the Trinidad and Tobago Parent-Teacher Association, where there have been several meetings to date with students from the various schools. So they're actually going into the schools, even during the summer period. They're pulling the students together, they're targeting them, they're providing services and discussions, etc. So this is just one of the many things. Another good thing that is happening is that the policy division is in the process of developing a strategy and an overarching policy to deal with the crime situation. And I know this because the University of the West Indies, of which I'm a part, is currently assisting the ministry in this particular initiative. So there's a lot that the government is actually doing. They're heavily engaged, not just in Trinidad, but also in Tobago, because the situation in Tobago, as we know, is a bit different from that in Trinidad. So it's something that's being strategically looked at, meaning the crime problem, and being, there's a lot of effort and energy going behind trying to deal with it.
Dr. C. Prasad, I know that you do a lot of research when it comes to crime prevention and so on, but I want to ask you, when you saw the initial list of the 30 locations identified for police units, Would you say those locations sort of correlate with the data you have before you that actually the areas that need a heightened police presence?
Right. So what you would find, generally speaking, is that correlation that you're talking about. So there are already police posts, permanent police posts in some of the high crime areas, which means that in those cases, you wouldn't necessarily put a temporary post, too near to an already established permanent post. So when you look at the data and the location, what it really suggests is that you're now able to widen the net in terms of the geographic location of policing. So you're able to spread them out, not just to high crime communities. Yes, you're able to target those with the highest crime area, but you're even able to put those in areas that might be medium crime areas, so that effectively...
Can you give us an example of some medium crime areas?
Oh, well, the high crime areas are the well-known ones. For instance, those in the Port of Spain division, there are some in the Central division, etc. For instance, communities with gangs. It is well known that if you have a community with gangs, those would be high crime areas. But from the time you start to step away from these areas and you become suburban or rural, generally speaking, you would find that the crime levels actually decrease in those particular areas. So, once you move to those areas, that's what you're talking about, and it's a good thing. You shouldn't necessarily criticize the government by saying, okay, why are you putting a police post in let's say, a medium crime area? It's important to control crime, not just in the high crime areas,
but medium crime areas are considered what areas?
Right. So all right, let's say you take a village in Gasparilla or a village in Cookie or something that might be, based on the crime statistics, lower than those in those very, very urban areas with gangs, then you would say that's a medium area. Now, of course, the definition of medium shifts because the crime patterns shift. So what you have to look at is what's the overall crime, what's the geographic concentration.
And that is what I was actually going to ask you. Sorry to cut you off there, but once these posts are set up and so on, at what point is the presence of police officers? Mind you, for decades we've been hearing about the promise of heightened police presence. At this stage, I was wondering where are we going to get all these officers from, because you're always hearing there's going to be a heightened police presence, right? The Army is now joining in in these posts, but at what stage does visibility act as a deterrent versus just optics?
Right. So in the case of visibility, that's really important. You need to deploy police officers in such a way that they're visible pretty much around the clock, that they're not just fixed in a particular location, but they're mobile, and they're mobile in random ways throughout the community. So you don't know when they're going to turn up, you don't know where they're going to turn up, but you're sure that they're going to turn up on a fairly regular basis. And once you do that, and those patterns are not predictable, it means it sends a message that there is a clear police presence. And you also alluded to the question of where they're going to get the police officers. So you may know that the TTPS is currently
recruitment drives.
Recruiting. So that's where the officers are going to come from. They're going to train and hire new officers.
But there's a police post in my area. Thankfully, we're not one of those problematic areas, but I think there's a concern that these police posts are really just, it doesn't get to the root cause of the crime, which is the crime problem, which is what you would have alluded to earlier in our program. What other initiatives would you like to see government do to get even deeper into the communities?
Right, and that's a really critical question. And let me first say that policing isn't actually designed to get at the root causes of the crime problem. Policing is something by its very nature, it's reactive. It comes into play after crimes have happened by and large. Of course, the use of police patrols and deterrent strategies, those are, of course, preventative approaches, but policing by its very nature doesn't get at the root causes, and that's not a criticism of policing per se, because it's not designed to do that. To really do that, you need to understand what those root causes are, and you need to look in the places where those root causes are situated. And of course, this is where research comes in. So you're looking in the families, in the communities, in the schools, etc., where you will find that things like adverse childhood experiences, family criminality, family abuse, family neglect, etc., a range of things, low educational achievement, school dropout, you will find out what are the factors that drive the crime situation in a particular country. And of course, those factors differ from country to country. Once you have an idea of what those things are, then you link up the communities and those are in need of the services with the available professionals, relevant professionals who will provide what is necessary. For instance, if it has something to do with the family, you start to educate families, you start to provide services for families, etc. So really, what you're trying to tackle is the causes, the root causes that are relevant in a particular place. So you tackle it through the families,
even opportunities, job opportunities, and so on.
Yes, that's also a critical one that tends to stand out across the Caribbean region. So you must diversify the economy, you must provide jobs, etc.
But I'm guessing what you mentioned about the family structure and so on, that will be essential, because we heard from law enforcement officials and even the government that when the homicide rate, the increase in homicide rate is really to do with domestic conflict as opposed to gang-related, which...
Right. So,
go ahead.
So I think perhaps the public may misunderstand that a little bit. The proportion of homicides that are domestic violence and altercation-related, etc., those were always there. Gang-related homicides within recent times have accounted for around 40% of homicides. So what is happening now, given that the state of emergency is designed to tackle the gang-related element of homicides, you find that has dropped significantly. So the declines that we are seeing are because of a reduction primarily in gang-related homicides. So what is now coming to the fore is really something that has always been there, and I dare say something that has been neglected. So now we are able to see, I guess, more clearly, those homicides that are as a result of altercations, domestic violence, etc. And what it is signaling to government is, now that we've sort of gotten a handle on the gang-related homicides, what do we do to deal with this other element of homicides that really accounts for another 50 to 60% of the totality of homicides in the country?
I'm sure you can guess my follow-up question, and that has to do with the fact that the state of emergency comes to an end in mid-September. Do you foresee that gang-related homicides are then going to go back up?
No, indeed, there is a very real possibility that is going to happen. And given, however, that the mobile police posts have been set up, that will be a strategy that could actually ensure that you continue to saturate those high crime, especially the gang communities, so that you keep that situation in check. It certainly remains to be seen, and in my mind, it's a perfect experiment for criminologists and social scientists to really try to map what happens when you transition, if indeed we transition out of a state of emergency and into a situation where you now have, geographically dispersed police posts. So it's certainly something that remains to be seen, certainly something that I am concerned about, because as we know, the state of emergency doesn't really deal with the root drivers, and in the case of gang violence,
it suppresses the problem.
It suppresses the problem, and it means, therefore, that the problem is actually still there, under wraps, so to speak. So when you pull the state of emergency, there is indeed a very real possibility that the problem could come back just as it was before.
Now, if we invite you back in 6 months, what would you expect to be discussing in terms of tangible benefits from this police units, these joint police army units?
Well, what I would be interested in looking at is the changes in the crime dynamics. Regardless of whether a state of emergency ends or it's extended, I would want to see what are the crime figures in the areas that these police posts have been set up and the geographic areas that they cover. But much more than that, I think I would want to see where the Ministry of Homeland Security has reached in terms of the initiatives that they are developing to deal with the root causes. Because for too long, this is something that has been neglected in Trinidad and Tobago by successive governments, I dare say. And finally, we're seeing a Ministry of Homeland Security that is really taking the charge and leading the way, so to speak, in terms of getting at these root causes. I don't expect those kinds of initiatives to have overnight effects. They typically don't. But
how soon would you like to see tangible benefits?
Well, I mean, within a matter of months or even years. Because let's say you are dealing with children in schools and you're trying to build values and morals and all of that. You're trying to change your population, but it doesn't, you don't realize those effects in terms of reductions in crimes within a month or a week. It could take years before you see that, come into effect.
All right, I just want to shift gears now. There's a cabinet note that's been put forward for an ID card law, which simply says that anyone over the age of 16 will be required to walk with their ID card. I want to ask you your general feelings about this.
So the first thing I would say, that this is much more of a crime-fighting tool rather than a strategy in and of itself. So it's not expected. I certainly don't expect simply putting this in place to result in a reduction in crime, but it does have its uses. For instance, you could identify persons, if immigration status becomes an issue or age becomes an issue, or identity becomes an issue, it makes it easier for the police. But at the same time, I want to be very, very clear that this has to be done in a way that's transparent, meaning a way in which there are very clear conditions and objective policing reasons, which would warrant a police officer asking for an identity document from a person. I would certainly want to see that those kinds of stops and checks are actually analyzed to ensure that there isn't geographic profiling, socioeconomic
Well, that's exactly
profiling,
what I was going to ask you about. Profiling. How do we set it up in such a way that we prevent that?
Right. So we have to create clear procedures which are adhered to, and those procedures, among other things, should be designed, to prevent that profiling. So it's not because you're in a particular place or you dress in a particular way. There must be some kind of clear policing-based reason for asking for that identity document in the first place. But I dare say that even if you put these safeguards in place, it doesn't necessarily mean that profiling wouldn't take place. Hence the reason that I say that this kind of data should actually be analyzed just to ensure that there isn't profiling. And if we do find that profiling is happening, then we take adjusted measures to ensure that that doesn't happen. So you must put the safeguards in place.
Can you give us any ideas, if you had to advise the government, on how this law should be set up to ensure that that does not happen?
Right. So they can set up the law, but what you have to do is, as I said, one, you set clear guidelines for when these documents are to be, requested from citizens, how they are to be requested, the manner in which they are to be requested. And at the same time, you're collecting the data. You're not just asking police officers to ask for ID documents, but to also record when they collect that data, when, where, who, etc., so that you can analyze the data. You also, I would say, should put measures in place that if you don't happen to have your ID, that you're not actually detained. You should be given an opportunity.
I think that's a serious fear for a lot of citizens.
Yes, and I wouldn't.
What happens if you can't present your ID card?
Right, so it would be a simple matter of coming back within a certain stipulated time period to provide your ID, because indeed there could be very genuine reasons, why people don't have their ID. You could have forgotten it at home. Sometimes delays in the ID card office. Once you cross a certain age, you're eligible for it. If there is a delay in getting the ID card, of course, you don't necessarily have it. And it's not like you're going to walk with your passport. You don't want to risk losing a document like that. So, you have to have those kinds of sensible provisions put in place so that you don't really create, unnecessary negative impacts on the citizenry by this particular, intervention. Because of course, if you do, then it's something that's going to be seen as onerous, and it's going to really defeat the purpose of the intended move.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. C. Prasad, for joining us here on The Morning Brew. We really do appreciate all of your commentary on the national security issues currently confronting the country.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with much more for you.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
We finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the new KFC onion ring chicken sandwich for $34.95, or get a regular side of rings for just $15. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
You can tell from the crowd who's up next. It's Trinray's star player, whose world-class stats put him in a league of his own. Trinray's risen to become a true force to be reckoned with. With an unbeaten Carry A rating, they boast a strong solvency and A-class service. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing Trinray's financial and technical strength at its best.
Trinray, premier insurance coverage for less.
Do you think all dishwashing soaps are the same? With some, they require more effort, and they don't wash as much. Try Dawn and discover its grease cleaning power. Dawn removes stubborn grease easier and faster than others. Additionally, it foam lasts 50% more. With Dawn, you use less product to clean more dishes and save with every wash. Dawn, triple grease cleaning power.
The Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, teaching the truth about God's people, God's plans, and the secrets of God, all written within the pages of the Holy Bible, which is the Word of God. Watch The Hidden Truth every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. on CNC3.
Welcome back to the Morning Brew here on CNC3. If you're just joining us, well, a special good morning to you. It's now time to tell you how you can stay connected with us here on CNC3's The Morning Brew. And you can send us an email, tmb@cnc3.co.tt. If you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have an opinion on the show, feel free to hit us an email. And of course, there's everything on social media now. You can stream us on social media, and you can even message us at CNC3 News. That's on Instagram, on Facebook at CNC3 Television, on X, formerly Twitter. I'm still to get accustomed to X versus Twitter, at CNC3 TV, hashtag TMB. We're always looking forward to hearing from you. And of course, you can download the CNC3 app on your mobile phones. There you'll have all of the verified breaking news and access to your favorite content on demand. And the Guardian website, there you have so much content. It is unbelievable. Our crews are working throughout the day to ensure that that site is populated for you, from international to regional and, of course, local developments. As it happens, it's posted to our page, of course, once it's verified. Well, it's now time to bring you something to think about as you share a cup of coffee with us. In a progressive country, change is constant. Change is inevitable. It's the only thing we're sure about. Change is, in fact, inevitable. If you haven't head out just yet, well, you're in luck. Sigoni, we now join her for a look at the weather forecast and, of course, our farmers report.
Good morning, farmers. I'm Sigoni Mohammed, and here's your Farmer's Almanac for the week ahead. We expect a mix of sunshine, cloudiness, and a few passing showers as warm, humid conditions continue across the islands, especially with tropical waves and the ITC-Z making appearances this week. So in our forecast, Monday begins with a couple of morning showers before skies brighten with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Now, this is a good time to plant seed beds, establish your flower gardens. You could transplant seedlings and even plant beets, onions, and other root crops. From Tuesday, and this is going to take us all the way through Saturday now, you want to expect considerable cloudiness with the chance of isolated afternoon showers. New moon is happening come Wednesday, but this period has barren days. Instead of planting, you may want to use this time to remove weeds, control plant pests, and carry out general farm maintenance. Although rainfall will be quite scattered, farmers should remain alert for localized flooding or water ponding in low-lying fields on wetter days. Now, high humidity will also increase the risk of fungal and bacterial diseases across crop beds. Meanwhile, on Sunday, while conditions do remain mostly cloudy with the possibility of an evening shower, here you can plant flowers and above-ground crops, as this is a favorable day to begin a new planting cycle. Now, for your farmer's tip of the week, if you're in Tobago, vegetation continues to recover, but soil moisture deficits remain. So what that means is that we still have a drought warning for southwestern Tobago, and that's expected to continue through October. While rainfall is forecast to remain near normal across Trinidad through the season, below normal rainfall is still expected in Tobago, making water conservation essential. Also, while temperatures will remain warm, gusty winds may affect young plants and flowering crops on exposed hillsides, while occasional Saharan dust may continue to impact your poultry and small ruminants. So farmers, take advantage of the small planting window that we have. Use the middle of the week for maintenance and weed control, and then you can return to above ground planting crops on Sunday. That's your farmer's forecast, helping you grow smarter every week.
Mom, Dad, this is Trevor.
Hi. He's no Kieran. Back up.
Swing? That's why he crossed the road. It was funny when Kieran said it.
Ooh, who could that be?
We're like the parents who don't miss your ex.
I can't believe Kieran is in the neighborhood.
CG United. Good like that.
We finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the new KFC onion ring chicken sandwich for $34.95, or get a regular side of rings for just $15. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Your heart, brain, and body with omega-3. Packed with essential fatty acids, omega-3 helps support heart health, brain function, and overall wellness. Whether you're staying active, focused, or simply living life to the fullest, make omega-3 part of your daily routine. Live healthier with omega-3. Wellness that works from within. Tune in to Wellness Unlocked on CNC3 Sundays at 5 p.m., also on Monday and Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m.
Time Check, brought to you by the Central Bank and the National Financial Literacy Program.
Good morning, I'm Peter Christopher with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. Government Minister Barry Padarat is pushing back against Opposition Chief Whip Marvin Gonzalez over questions surrounding contracts for the 30 planned police posts around the country. Gonzalez had questioned the selection of contractors and whether the proper procurement process had been followed. But in a social media post on Sunday, Padarat accused the opposition of focusing on contractors instead of the crime-fighting benefits of the mobile police units. He also argues that the opposition remained silent on allegations involving state contracts under the former PNM administration and says its criticism amounts to political misinformation rather than a discussion about public safety. International hospitality company Hilton says it wants to continue its 64-year presence at the state-owned Hilton Trinidad and Conference Center, but its lease is still set to end on September 18th if a long-term agreement is not reached. Hilton's Caribbean and Latin America communications team told CNC3 the company remains in talks with the property's owner and hopes to secure a long-term solution. Last Thursday, Land and Legal Affairs Minister Saddam Hussein says negotiations are very advanced and an announcement is expected soon. State records also referred to a new Hilton HMA and renovation works aimed at maintaining the Hilton rebrand by E-Tech. The countdown is on as Hilton's September 18 deadline comes exactly 45 days after it wrote the Communication Workers Union, which is the legal notice period when 5 or more workers may be retrenched in accordance with the Severance Benefits Act. Now, the workers through the union have been demanding answers on their future. The state must pay more than $500,000 to police officer Dawood Mohammed after a High Court judge ruled that the TTPS violated his constitutional rights by delaying his recruitment. Mohammed, a municipal police officer at the time, cleared most of his recruitment process but was stopped because of tattoos on his arms. He later removed the tattoos and challenged the TTPS's policy in court. Although he resumed training while that case was pending, his fellow recruits were sworn in before him after concerns were reportedly raised about his background check and lawsuit. Mohammed took legal action over the delay. Last year, he won his challenge to the tattoo policy and received $300,000. In the latest ruling, Justice Marcia Ayers Caesar found the TTPS failed to properly explain the delay or give Mohammed a chance to respond to the concerns. She also ruled that he was treated differently from other recruits without justification. Stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
Stomach discomfort again? Bloating, cramps, irregular bathroom habits? Meet Vivera, your daily support for a balanced gut. Vivera works fast to help reduce the abdominal pain, ease bloating, and support healthy digestion. It helps restore balance to your gut so you can get back to feeling light, comfortable, and in control. Choose for real digestive relief, safe, effective, and trusted for both children and adults. Now available at pharmacies nationwide. Vivera, feel the difference.
Everyone loves a champion. A champion performance deserves a champion home. At Classic Tiles, discover premium tiles, stylish bathrooms, luxury vanities, SPC flooring, and everything you need to bring your dream home to life. Because every winning woman deserves a home that looks and feels like a champion. Champions shop at Classic Tiles, located on Endeavour Road, Chaguanas.
Welcome back to the Morning Brew program here on CNC3. For those of you who are just joining us, a special morning to you. And for those of you wondering who I am, I forgot to mention who I am. I'm Bhavita Gopal-Chan. And if you're wondering where your usual host is, Jason is in the Dominican Republic, Punta Cana. Well, unfortunately, he's not there for vacation purposes. He's there for the 41st annual Canto Conference and Exhibition. We now check in with him.
Good morning, Bhavita. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and good morning to the Morning Brew family. Jason Williams on location here for Canto 2026 in the Dominican Republic. Now, Canto is the Caribbean's longest running ICT gathering. And this journey for Canto started back in 1985 with 8 Caribbean telecom companies. Now, this year marks the 41st installment of its annual conference and trade exhibition. And from my vantage point, I can safely report this morning that Canto's relevance and importance in the ICT space continues to grow exponentially. Over 800 delegates from all over the world are gathered here in the Dominican Republic for conversations on ICT, AI, and digital transformation, also technological infrastructure. And why is this important? It will impact businesses and every citizen of the region, especially those, I would safely say, in the rural areas. It's about coverage. It's about giving everyone that equal opportunity to be part of the ICT conversation. And as it happens in real time, I'll bring you all the action here from the DR. This is Canto 2026, and you'll be getting all the behind the scenes right here on the Morning Brew.
Jason is looking extra fresh there in the Dominican Republic. I hope he gets to squeeze in some time to have some fun, but definitely we look forward to all of the content that will come out of that 41st Canto Annual Conference and Exhibition. And as Jason rightly said, listen, coverage, technological coverage is so important in this. We live in a digital age, and it's important that the policymakers, they meet, they discuss what needs to be done to ensure that we all stay connected through technology. Let's take a short break, but on the other side, we have Dr. Indira Rampersad, a political scientist, joining us right here on the program.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order. Stomach discomfort again? Bloating, cramps, irregular bathroom habits? Meet Vivera, your daily support for a balanced gut. Vivera works fast to help reduce the abdominal pain, ease bloating, and support healthy digestion. It helps restore balance to your gut so you can get back to feeling light, comfortable, and in control. Choose for real digestive relief, safe, effective, and trusted for both children and adults. Now available at pharmacies nationwide. Vivera, feel the difference.
Textbooks, screens, late nights. Your eyes work hard through every class, exam, project, and deadline. Ferrara Optical has eyewear specifically designed to reduce eye strain so nothing holds your learning back. For a limited time, youth get a free frame with lenses from just $495. Scholars get frame and lenses starting at only $750. And lifelong learners save up to 30% off your purchase of advanced lenses like Eisen and Transitions. Less strain, more focus. Your vision without limits. Visit Ferrara Optical in store today. This promotion is NLCB approved.
The biggest Quality in sport is back. Catch every TKL match live and exclusively on CNC3, August 7th through September 20th. You don't want to miss the action. The Republic Bank CPL 2026, only on CNC3. Passion, energy, and cricket live here. Brought to you by
Welcome back. Well, we've been talking about the government's crime-fighting strategy from a security and criminology perspective. But crime isn't just a security issue. It is also becoming an increasingly important political issue. With the government under pressure to show that its measures are delivering results, well, the opposition is watching closely, and of course, you, the voters, are making your own assessments. So what is the political cost of crime, and can the government's new initiatives change the public's perception of its handling of the problem? And how much could crime shape the wider political landscape? Let's bring in political scientist Dr. Indira Rampersad to discuss that and much more. Good morning, Dr. Rampersad.
Hey, good morning, Bhavita, and good morning to our viewers.
Dr. Rampersad, it's almost as though the government listened to you. You've been one person who has previously said that, the army should be working alongside police in getting the crime problem under control. How did you feel when you heard about the policing units, the 30 across the country in the coming 4 months?
I think the government's been responding, not just responding to me. Certainly, I can't have that influence. But, numerous studies been done, numerous reports been done. I was involved in a report in 2013. My department of political science at the University of the West Indies, we've held crime symposia. Department of Behavioral Sciences has partnered with the Ministry of Homeland Security and are working on the psychological dimension of crime as well. So, Bhavita, I think this is welcome. It's a seriously welcome move on the part of the government. We have a military there, and they, for the most part, they are inactive because we do not have border security issues. So here we have a collaboration between, I think, the two ministries, the Ministry of Defense, which deals with the external borders, and the Ministry of Homeland Security, which deals with the internal issues. So we do have, it would seem, a shortage of police officers. So bringing in the military, I think, is a brilliant move. But even more important is the post, is the 30 police posts that they are trying to implement and execute across the country. And it is something that we've also recommended. These police presence, the visibility of the police is critical. You look at Jamaica and you look at why they have been able to bring down crime. We know they were always highest in the region. We have surpassed them. And when I say the region, I'm talking about the Anglo-Caribbean. We have now surpassed Jamaica in terms of crime rate. And they were able to do it because they reformed the police service and because of an intense visibility of the police, the presence of the police in the country. And I think more citizens would feel safer. I've been to Panama recently, and in Panama, in every corner in the city, you would see a police officer, and they don't have crime in the city. You have
police presence is one thing, but I was mentioning to Dr. Prasad earlier that we really have to ensure that this isn't just about a presence and optics, but really about getting to the root of the problem. Because I've seen instances where there are police cars and officers on the side of the road, and you still see errand drivers and so on, and police are not going after them. So it's really about what those officers are doing while they're actually there.
Well, of course, we don't expect them to be sitting idle in the posts, and playing cards. We certainly don't expect them to do that. But, Bhavita, I will welcome a police car in front of my house any day. because I'm telling you, the presence of the police, the visibility of the police is very, very important to the psychological well-being of the citizen, of the average citizen, and it is also important as a deterrent to the criminals, because they see that police post there, wherever it may be, and they're not going to venture into that area. We expect the police, and they are there aligned with the military. We expect them to be armed. We expect them to be active. We expect them to be on the alert. We expect them to be doing what they're doing. Now, these police posts, Bavita, is different from those that are monitoring the drivers, those commuters.
It was just simply an example.
Different. Yeah, but it is a different portfolio they have altogether. They're not there to monitor those who are under the influence. I mean, of course, it's blatant in front of them. They're going to deal with it. But they're there to deal with the criminals, the home invasions, for example, people who are coming into the areas, the robberies. I mean, we look at the fiasco at Eddie Hart recently, and I was just shocked that anyone would want to oppose such a move. Eddie Hart used to be such a safe space where many, many citizens in my constituency, this is my constituency of Tunapuna, would walk, they would exercise, they would go there, they would go for some refreshments, they go for some relaxation, some time off. And you can't do that anymore, because even the doubles vendors were indicating that he's been robbed and been robbed umpteen times. So the general citizen, the average citizen, is afraid to even visit the relaxation parks we have there. Place to go and
I'm
rest.
glad that you touched on what is currently taking place at Eddie Hart's grounds. And the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation, its chairman, I don't think he's explicitly said that they are opposed to the police posts. Their point of contention is the manner in which the posts are going up without consulting the regional corporation.
Well, I don't know if in the past we've ever had a level of consultation to set up a police post. National security trumps everything else. You need to consult with the citizens to tell them you're going to, implement something that is going to make them more safe and secure. You can't have consultation for everything. The last government was not doing that. In the last 10 years, they weren't even trying to implement any measure to deal with the crime. So I think the credibility of that opposition coming from the regional corporation is in question. What was the regional corporation doing about crime in Tunapuna in the last 10 years? What exactly were they doing? Okay, we now have an Eagle Eye program with the business community in Tunapuna, and that has sent down crime a lot. The Minister of Homeland Security is actually the MP for the area. He's been actively attempting to deal with crime in the area, and I think it has subsided to some extent. But a police post is what, 8x8 or 6x6. You need to get approval for that.
So you are saying that there's national security, if I quote you correctly, trumps any sort of regulatory approval that may be needed for these structures?
Well, any kind of restrictions
that's a loaded statement, because there are citizens listening who would argue that they can't even, extend part of their home without having to consult the corporation and so on.
But a home is different, Bavita. This is just the point. This is exactly the point I want to make. Your home is different. That is your private citizen. There are certain rules and regulations. And yes, you can extend. People extend all the time. They without permission. They build garages, they build little sheds, they build this, that, and the next. A police post is in the interest of national security. It is treated with public safety. You would remember during COVID, the kind of measures the last government was taking. The vaccine, for example, in the interest of public safety. You can override certain measures. And people talk about privacy and, this is my body and all that with the vaccine. But the government argued that it was in the interest of public safety, and they would have had an argument there. Similarly, this is in the interest of national security. We have had a crisis. We've had a crisis for a long time, not just in the last 10 years. This is decades old crisis. We have a government who is interested in confronting the crisis, who campaigned on that. So, Bavita, yes, I agree we cannot take the politics out of it. But we have to understand the context of the opposition as well. The opposition's now in a situation where they've lost 2 elections, disaster, it's catastrophic. April 28th, 2025, and January 12th in Tobago, 2026. The opposition looks for opportunities to oppose because the opposition is trying to be visible as well. And to make a big hullabaloo and fuss about a little police post that is in the interest of the safety and security of citizens like me who live in Tanapuna, right? I really cannot accept that. Let the post go up, let the police do their job, let the citizens feel more safe and secure. And that is what we've been crying out for. The government campaigned on that. So I said, we cannot take the politics out of it. It is public policy, it is government policy. Anyhow you take it. Everything is politics, Bavita. Almost everything, the air we breathe is politics. We can't get away from it. Even the little children know how to negotiate to get what they want. So they also play their politics. But this is security. This is a big issue. The government campaign on crime and the economy. The crime situation has been in dire straits for a long time. I've been talking about it. I've been writing about it, commenting about it. I
remember in a previous interview you said our problem in this country is not necessarily plans and policies and so on, but implementation.
Yeah, so we have had an implementation deficit. Everybody know what the problems are. So many reports have been done. There have been no lack of research. We have IATB, we have UE, we have international, the UN commissioning reports, the EU, so many international reports. I've been involved in some of this. We have Dr. C. Prasad was just there from the head of the criminology unit at UE. He's been involved in some of this research as well. So, there is no shortage, and we know what the problems are. We also know what the solutions are. But the solutions have not been implemented. And what do we end up with? People being robbed, people being raped, people being murdered, people's houses being invaded. I mean, this is a matter I'm very, very, very passionate about, and I feel very strong about.
Sorry to cut you off, but how soon do you expect to see some sort of improvement in security with these posts?
Well, with the post, I would say give it a few months, because we've already seen some improvement in security. If I may quote the Prime Minister, she said gang killings fell from 273 in 24 to 122 in 25, and currently stand at 78 for 2026. And we are in the month of August, so we're in the last lap of the year. And she said that this is due to the National Security Services during the state of emergency. Now, not the latter part, of course, that is the Prime Minister talking.
Right. But it's interesting that you raise that point, because in our interview with Dr. C. Prasad a short while ago, you would have mentioned that, that reduction in gang-related homicide could very well be linked to the fact that we've been operating under a state of emergency, and that state of emergency comes to an end on September 17th, and he foresees an uptick.
Right. So I want to wait and watch, because I think it's also related to the measures they are taking to deal with the international drug problem, the transnational drug problem. Bavita, the U.S. presence here, I think has been significant. The U.S. crackdown on the drugs, I think that has been significant. I think it has served a deterrent. It wouldn't stop it. This trade, this transnational drug trade, is too enormous. It isn't.
And that's why we've been partnering with the United States.
We have to partner with anyone who's willing to partner with us in the regional and international arena, not just the United States. So this is not just a Trump-Kamala thing, okay? And we have been doing it for a long, long time. We had ship rider agreements since the 1990s, okay? I think the issue is that it happens to be Donald Trump, who may not be the most popular leader of the United States, and the Prime Minister has opted to to collaborate with the U.S. administration, and the president happens to be Donald Trump, but whose policies come in for a lot of criticism. That's another debate, and that's my other hat as an international relations specialist. But I think this collaboration is critical. This is something we've also proposed. These are recommendations we've also made, and it will come out in every single crime report that is done, because the problem is larger than life. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, the regional governments, even if they collaborate, they cannot deal with this. Trinidad and Tobago is not the only island in the Caribbean experiencing a crime problem, and it is due to drugs. It is due to the influx of drugs which comes from the South American continent into the Caribbean as a transshipment point, and then it goes to North America and Europe. And this is a problem, Bavita, I've been writing about this for ages. This is a transnational problem larger than life. So I think once there are moves to deal with that.
Do you think the government is taking moves to deal with that particular problem?
Well,
I should say enough is being done?
I think the collaboration with the United States is intense. And I think that, and in my opinion, that should be welcome, because if they are assistant, they have the resources, they have the equipment to help us deal with it. Bavita, it will never be enough, because the problem is so large, it's so huge. Okay, so we still have crime. We may have a reduction in gang-related crimes, which is good, because the main problem in the country is drugs. That is what our research has shown, that the primary cause of homicide in the country is drugs, and as it triggers the crime with arms and gangs, and there is a connection between that as well, because the arms come in with the drugs. Next, she mentioned altercations, and she mentioned 82 altercations.
Domestic-related homicides.
Yeah, yes, and I have also done research on this, because this is the other dimension of the crime that we have. More difficult, Bavita, much more difficult to deal with, because you cannot go into somebody's home and deal with a dispute between a husband and a wife, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, common law partners, whatever it may be. That takes place within a private sphere, and there is so much a state can do in intervening in the private sphere. Now, if the altercation takes place in the public sphere between private citizens, the state may be able to intervene. So this is a much more difficult, complex problem to deal with, and it transcends the racial Rubicon. It transcends the class and race boundaries.
Dr. Rampas, I definitely want to, I want to stick up in there, because we have to, of course, I can't have you here and not ask you about what appears to be, or what some are concerned about, is increase in racial tensions in the country. We'll be touching on that in a bit. But I do want to ask you, as we're on the national security front, do you think there is a prime opportunity here for the opposition and the government to come to the table in the interest of citizens to broaden the plan for addressing crime?
Well, I would love to host a forum in which I can bring all of them together. And because we need that collaboration. This is in the interest of the citizens. And I always welcome collaboration. We rarely see them supporting each other in the parliament on a legislation, very rare. But we're dealing with another systemic problem here, and that problem has to do with Westminster's system of governance and adversarial politics. That is the nature of the politics of this region. You don't really support the opposition, you don't really support the government.
How do we get them to not necessarily support a political party, but just support an initiative? Citizens' lives are at risk.
You're asking me the million-dollar question, because it is more than what I would say here, how to get them to do it. There has to be political will, because what we have
Do you see the political will in the two political leaders right now?
It's not just right now. We never had it. Whichever government is in power, no one wants to really collaborate. We may see, like I said, occasionally and very, very rare, one supporting the other on a legislation in the parliament. But the opposition see it as their role to oppose. But Bavita, because the stakes are very high. And what are the stakes? the stakes are political power. That is the end game of it all. Okay, that is the end, political power. You know, this is realist politics at its best. The aim of the game is political power.
Now,
if you collaborate, that potential for power can be eroded. So that's you know, the opposition is now, and oppositions do this. They have seized on every opportunity to criticize the government after 2 crushing defeats. The interest of the population takes maybe last place in that whole dynamic. You know, it's basically what the party can do to emerge again. Now, if the UNC government resolves the crime problem, the PNM are going to be at a serious disadvantage with a local government election coming up next year. So, Bavita, it comes down to electoral politics and it comes down to political power.
I really wish we had more time to continue that part of the discussion, but I do want to move into another direction. Now, as I mentioned, there's been some concern pertaining to the racial rhetoric that's currently taking place in the country right now, and the Prime Minister has come under some heat for her role or her contribution to it by using a particular racial slur. Do you think this is acceptable for a leader of a country to be doing at this point in time, especially
Bavita,
as youth as one looking on?
I am not understanding this. There's a mass distortion here. That slur didn't come from her, as you are presenting it.
It came from a leaked audio.
It came from a leaked audio, and she responded naturally. If I was under the attack, I would have responded similarly. And I think most people who are attacked, whatever race they are, they do respond. It's a knee-jerk reaction, it's a natural reaction when your race is being attacked. I don't think that is stoking any racial flames. I think that is a response to an unwarranted attack. And it came not from her. So why isn't the focus on the source of it?
So that how do we fix that problem right now?
Yeah, because the way you've asked this question as if she was the one who stoked this. How do we fix that problem is we have to deal with the source. Where does it come from, right? Who said it? Let us go there. Who started it? The Prime Minister took offense. I would have taken offense. I don't know if you would have taken offense, but I think it is a human reaction. It is a human reaction, whether you are Prime Minister, whether you are a citizen, whether you are the President. It is a human reaction. And she is dealing with a wider problem. She's dealing with a wider problem of how sections of the community see other sections of the community based on ethnicity. Okay, so I don't think she's stoking the flames of racism at all as it is being distorted and presented here. Even here this morning, that is a false narrative, Bavita, and I think that we need to stop it. We need to stop it. Let us look at the source of it. Because I think many people were in shock and disbelief in listening to that audio. How can people be making that kind of comment, one race against the other, and then everybody blame it on the Prime Minister when she responds to it?
I think people's issue is with her repeating the word, not necessarily they are aware where it came from.
Peter, if I repeat, let me say, if I repeat that word here this morning, am I the problem? Let me ask you a question. I wouldn't repeat it here this morning. Okay, but if I repeat it here this morning, does it make me the perpetrator? Does it make me the problem? This is what I want to ask you. How come the Prime Minister I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm trying to explain here that this is a narrative that has taken a turn.
Did you take offense? Did you take offense to that? Did you take offense to?
Yes, I took deep offense to it. I took deep offense to it as an Indian woman. I did. Okay, I took deep offense, and many, many, many of my colleagues, even those who are not of my ethnicity, took deep offense to it, right? Did I react? No, but people are hurting. People are hurting very, very deeply about it. And then the Prime Minister gets blamed because she responds. She's the Prime Minister. She's the one to respond. It was targeted against her, but not just against her, the whole group, which is the majority group in the country. So you are going to get reaction, and this is not stalking. This is a reaction. This is a knee-jerk response to volatile statement, which was probably meant to stoke. You know, and we have to get to the source of the problem. So don't tell me that, and don't twist this morning about the racial slur coming from the Prime Minister. It did not come from her. Let's get to the source. Let us deal with that. We have groups in the country that are now getting very, very insecure. Their interests, they see their interests are in jeopardy. And this is the political scientist part of me. They're seeing their interests in jeopardy. They're getting insecure, and they're making statements that are extremely volatile, and then it is being twisted as other persons are saying it. Something's very wrong there, Bavita. Very, very wrong with the whole narrative.
A very passionate interview there, Dr. Rampersad.
Yeah, well, nobody would say it. And let me say it here. Nobody wants to say it, but somebody has to say it, and I am saying it here this morning.
I'm getting the cue from my producer that we are running late for the other interviews, but I really do appreciate you joining us here on the program. It's always a pleasure chatting.
And I totally appreciate you having me and giving me the opportunity to explain a lot of the misnomers that pervade the air. Thank you very much, Vavita. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for thank you to my viewers.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Political scientist Dr. Indira Rampersad, a very passionate interview there. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we have none other than Vivek Charan with us, and we'll be discussing all things in the world of business and, of course, everything else that's happening on the national sphere right now.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chanka Trace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we offer you the widest variety at the best prices. Clean, spacious surroundings. Friendly professional service because we care. And remember, we're the home of Plenty for 20 savings, giveaways and samplings. Plus, we're open all day Sunday just for you. And we've got you covered with basement parking for over 200 cars for your convenience. Because our customers are our priority. Let us care for you. Extra Foods. Always extra for less.
Invest in every innings. Is this the best match of the season? Yes, it is. With the Unitrust Corporation on your team, it's the best match every season. Stop settling for less. Access the best performing funds on the market with the highest income fund rates in the industry with UTC on your side and its 44 years of investment experience. You won't just support the winning team, you'll be part of one. Visit the nearest investment center, agency, or ttutc.com to sign up today.
Welcome to the #1 development in the central area, Avidan Residences. Located Kulahal Road, which is literally 15 seconds on and off the highway, close to all your amenities. All homes include remote gate systems, parking for 2 vehicles, with a spacious living room area and a very modern kitchen. The house is completely covered in porcelain tiles, fully AC, gypsum ceiling, and water heating systems. With 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a master bedroom with its own walk-in closet. Give us a call, WhatsApp, or visit our social media platforms and get one step closer to your dream home.
Welcome back. Well, the business community has a lot to say about the direction of the economy, the challenges facing Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, national security is part of the discussion right now. And we invite Mr. Vivek Charan, who is president of the Confederation of Regional Business Chamber. Mr. Charan, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you, Bavita. It's not every day I get interviewed by a senior producer and news anchor.
Yes,
so I'm happy to be here.
I'm still adjusting to the ruler here on TMB, but thankfully it's not for very long. But Mr. Charan, I do want to start here. What are your members telling you about the policing units that the government is looking to roll out?
I think generally it's been favorable. I think that anything that goes towards promoting security, anything that goes towards promoting police visibility and reducing, and you see police visibility assist in reducing opportunistic crime. And opportunistic crime, whereas it's not as violent as, let's say, armed robberies and so on, it is still, still quite prevalent. And opportunistic crime are things as simple as people snatching gold chains, people snatching handbags, people breaking into people's cars while they're parked and so on. And so the location of the current police post, as it were, Eddie Hart's ground, we tend to think that it's a good thing. And it's a good thing because where you have public congregation, I mean, in Trinidad, one of the things that are free and that people tend to take advantage of is the public gathering at places like savannas and so on, because they go there to run, they go there to work out, they often take their kids there. It's a way to decompress after a long day at work, and you tend to find a lot of people congregating there in the afternoons. There's also the food park at Eddie Hart grounds, which does, I would say, a certain level of commerce, brisk commerce as it were, that would be more cash oriented. Where the police post is located on Eddie Hart's ground, I think brings a certain sense of security to the patrons of the ground. I also believe that when you look at the logistics, so we have Tunapuna Police Station, which is on Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna itself, just at the junction of Paje Road and Eastern Main Road. And you look at the Aruca Police Station. Between Tunapuna Police Station and Aruca Police Station, there really isn't any, let's say, police post, as it were, police station, as it were. So I believe that the location at Eddie Hart's ground strategically is a good idea. And it's a good idea because it allows for a certain amount of, I would say, an improvement in response time. So, for example, in a real case scenario, at one of our branches in Sawa, there was a situation. Now, Sawa is one of those places where there's the Sawa Hill Police Station, there's the Barataria Police Station, but there's also a very small station known as the substation, which sits directly on Eastern Main Road. The substation, we have found, has been very helpful in dealing with, let's say, crimes along the Eastern Main Road, which is pretty dense when you think about the amount of businesses on Eastern Main Road. So we had a small issue. Well, I wouldn't say it's a small issue. We had a concerning issue. A call was made to the Sawa substation, and I was amazed at the response time. The response time was within minutes. They dealt with the situation in a very professional manner, and they dealt with it conclusively. And what could have turned out to be something pretty bad was averted. And I think that gives an indication of what smaller police posts or smaller police presences rather than a huge police station can bring when it comes to response times and dealing with issues.
I know there would be a lot of citizens who will be relieved that, these posts, because that was the logic of the government, that they are strategically placed in major intersections and so on, improve response times and so on, but also as a deterrent.
Correct. I mean, a lot of the conversation has been about, let's have more police cars. Police cars were found, there's a considerable cost associated with police vehicles.
Yes.
So much so that there have been some partnerships and overtures to the private business, the private sector, to assist the police in fixing things like,
we're talking about your members here.
Yeah, I would say my members, and even on a broader perspective, there have been other chambers that have directly assisted the police in.
I know the Tobago Chamber, they've been one in particular that has partnered with police to ensure that
there's been Tunapuna, there's been Chagonas, there's been Sawa to some degree. So it has happened, but the idea of more vehicles and police sitting in vehicles at the side of the road, as a police presence is completely different from, let's say, police at a post. And I think that police at a post is also, a step in the right direction. We need to evolve, and we're seeing that this police commissioner keeps changing things and evolving in terms of what the strategic direction is. And that is good because crime is also quite dynamic. And when you look at the fact that crime is dynamic, it does need a change in response over time. So, you know, these police posts can I think, you know, be positive. It comes down to, however, the police that are manning the posts, the way in which the police deal with the general public. We have found that, you know, not all, you know, doctors have a bedside manner. So let's say if we say that police should have something of a bedside manner, and bedside manner of police, the bedside manners of police tend to differ in huge, you know, in a huge way between one individual to the next. And we would hope that when you put these police posts in an area that is heavily congregated, you know, there's a lot of people, a lot of members of the public, you are going to be dealing with a large, you know, directly with the public in a sense.
Understood. Mr. Charan, unfortunately, we are out of time. Right now, I'm entering into Jassie's time with discussing all things CPL. But it is always a pleasure to have you here on the Morning Brew, and I'm sure you'll be back with us soon so that we can continue this discussion because there are a lot more questions I have for you.
Thank you, Babita. Thank you.
All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Tell from the crowd who's up next. It's Trinray's star player, whose world-class stats put him in a league of his own. Trinray's risen to become a true force to be reckoned with. With an unbeaten Carry A rating, they boast a strong solvency and A-class service. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing Trinray's financial and technical strength at its best.
Trinray, premier insurance coverage for less.
The biggest party in sport is back. Catch every TKL match live and exclusively on CNC3, August 7th through September 20th. You don't want to miss the action. The Republic Bank CPL 2026, only on CNC3. Passion, energy, and cricket live here. Brought to you by
let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Name something people stick their noses into.
I'm going to say, into the oven.
This game is going to hell. Stick your nose in the oven.
At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we offer you the widest variety at the best prices. Clean, spacious surroundings. Friendly, professional service because we care. And remember, we're the home of Plenty for 20 savings, giveaways and samplings. Plus, we're open all day Sunday just for you. And we've got you covered with basement parking for over 200 cars for your convenience. Because our customers are our priority. Let us care for you. Extra Foods. Always extra for less.
We finally said yes to onion rings. Now it's your turn to say yes to the new KFC onion ring chicken sandwich for $34.95, or get a regular side of rings for just $15. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Cold or flu? Take Panadol Multi-Symptoms. Relief in minutes. 7 cold and flu symptoms. Panadol. Release starts here.
Life. What a wonderful journey we're on. Each stage is unique, and at Tata Life, we not only understand, but also appreciate that you'll have different needs at different times. So trust us to protect you and yours with our comprehensive range of financial planning solutions to ensure that you never, ever have to worry. For the many stages of your life, Tata Life, a member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Live Caribbean Premier League, only on CNC3. The biggest party is on CNC3. We've secured the broadcast rights to the Caribbean Premier League, bringing you every TKR match live. To make room for the action, CNC3 News will air earlier on selected match days. Watch for our daily reminders on air and follow CNC3 on social media for the latest broadcast times, so you don't miss the stories that matter. Stay with us for every run, every wicket, every unforgettable CPL moment, only on CNC3. Follow CNC3 on social media for the full broadcast schedule. CNC3, your news, your cricket.
Hello and good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Brew on our special segment, the CPL Breakfast Show here on CNC3. I'm Jassy Marique, of course. And for the duration of this year's CPL number 14, every morning we'll have a guest here for you, and of course some of the CPL highlights and all that is taking place surrounding the tournament as it progresses through the region. This morning, we just want to recap what's happened this weekend. Of course, we would have seen the tournament bowl off on Friday night in St. Vincent, a brand new venue for this year's tournament. And of course, it means that the CPL is continuing to expand to territories across the region and certainly becoming and taking that biggest party in sport brand to all of the various territories. Now, becoming a new venue, King's Arnorsville in Kingstown, St. Vincent, it means that, of course, fans there would have been hoping to see some of the action. It has been a little bit interrupted by rain, both on Friday night as well as Saturday night, and even in last night's tournament, last night's match, as we'll get into in a short bit. However, it means to say, again, that the tournament continues to grow, and certainly fans in St. Vincent would have enjoyed what they've seen so far. From Kingstown, the tournament moves to Kingston, Jamaica. The returning franchise, the Jamaica Kingsmen, will be in action from tomorrow night, of course, and that means, again, that a returning franchise would have been previously represented by the Jamaica Tallowers, but now under new management, a new brand, a new identity, the Kingsmen will be eager to get their first bit of action in front of a home audience. Let's turn the clock back a few hours to what happened last evening. Of course, the matchup saw the St. Lucia Kings taking on the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. And of course, the Kings, they batted first in this one. Andries House, the South African-born American cricketer, led the charge for St. Lucia, batting first on a pitch that has proven to be a little bit dodgy at times. Of course, this match would have been interrupted by rain at some point, leading to a slow outfield. But that meant no mind to House and his opening partner in that encounter last evening, who was actually Trinidad and Tobago's Camille Puran. And after Puran was dismissed, House took over almost exclusively in leading them to a fine target, or fine total indeed, in that encounter. He batted for long periods alongside Ruston Chase and Darren Ned. Although his final 82 was the most outstanding score, no one beyond him went past 20 runs, and we eventually saw him caught there by Trinidad and Tobago's own Evan Lewis. Late down the order, Shamar Springer came into the vibe for the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. He had 2 wickets for 39 runs, a bit expensive, but his death bowling certainly was something to behold. And alongside Alzari Joseph, who had 3 for 32, they were able to keep the St. Lucia Kings to 187 for 8. Some late hitting by McKenny Clark who once wore the Trinbago Knight Riders colors, helped them get up to that 187 range, that 190 range, which certainly is always a challenging total indeed. Well, after that, Rakeem Cornwall Jimbo, as they call him, would have taken to the crease alongside his opening partner, Evan Lewis, for the chase by the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. A bit of luck there for Lewis, but he and Cornwall were really striking them quite cleanly indeed in getting those boundaries early on in the power play, which really gave Antigua and Barbuda Falcons a good platform until we saw Cornwall dismissed court and bowled by Mahesh Tikshana. Tikshana would end up a crucial part to play for this St. Lucia Kings defense. He had 2 for 18 from his 4 overs, including that caught and bowled. But after the dismissal of Cornwall, in came Tim Robinson alongside Evan Lewis, and together they were clearing the ropes with some ease as they continued to tick the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons along. At this point, one would say that the Falcons were really in control and certainly would have been eyeing themselves up for a grandstand finish. They were really striking it to all parts of the Arnoldsville ground, and St. Lucia Kings really didn't seem to have an answer of how to get them out. Eventually, Robinson was caught there in the deep, and that ended a stay of 30 for him from 20 deliveries. Lewis continued to try to tick things over. Eventually, he was dismissed, however, just shy of a 50, yet another CPL 50. He just made 48. That will be his dismissal would soon come up on screen. But really and truly, at this point, Antigua and Barbuda Falcons really making the chase seem comfortable enough. But then that allowed the Kings to get a foothold back in. West Indies captain and the St. Lucia Kings captain Ruston chased there with an incredible caught and bowled effort, and that saw the back of Karima Gore for he just made 2 runs in that chase. But after that, the Barbuda Falcons, the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, that is, they really lost some wickets at some crucial intervals, and that made the momentum swing in the other direction. And eventually, they were just short of a winning total, despite some big hitting towards the back end there by Fabian Allen and, of course, Jamar Hamilton. But really and truly, the momentum was already on the side of the Kings. Matthew Ford with the run out there. And Ford, although he was also quite expensive bowling for the Kings, he went for actually 47 for his 1 wicket. His death bowling would be really crucial to that effort to help the St. Lucia Kings defend that total. They kept them to 183 for 7 and a win on the board now for the St. Lucia Kings. So there you have it. CPL 2026 is well and truly underway. And of course, to get us a little bit more behind the scenes information this morning is the head of international communications, Mr. Peter Miller. He's joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am great. How are you? The first leg of CPL 2026 is done and dusted. St. Vincent turned out in their numbers to greet the CPL caravan as it begins its trot around the region.
Yeah, really exciting to have games in Caribbean. I think we've had 2 really, really exciting games and one that was maybe not quite as close, but that's cricket, right? You can't have every game be a completely thrilling game. But I think if you were to say 60%, 66% of the games were finishing in the last ball or the last over, you'd be absolutely delighted. So, yeah, very pleased with how it's gone so far in St. Vincent. The local team have done a great job in terms of putting on CPL cricket for the very first time. And what an amazing country. I was really pleased to be able to go and visit and see St. Vincent for the very first time.
Yeah, it's always a tricky proposition to implant this product of this magnitude into a new territory. Of course, we already know the logistical headache that moving around the region presents. What would have encouraged the CPL to go to a new territory this season?
Yeah, more than anything else, it's about opening up new opportunities for us, right? There's the opportunity to bring CPL to new places, the potential of having, I was on a show with the sports minister the other day here in St Vincent, the opportunity of potentially having a CPL franchise in St Vincent. That was something he alluded to. It's above my pay grade, but I'd be delighted if it were to happen. So yeah, I mean, there's that. And then more than anything else, it's just an opportunity for us to showcase another amazing country here in the Caribbean, in St Vincent, somewhere I'd not been before and somewhere I'm very hopeful I get to go back to because it's absolutely beautiful, hugely welcoming, and has one of the most beautiful cricket grounds I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah, the Caribbean really has some really vibrant cricket audiences. From this new venue, we head to one that's really familiar but hasn't been around for some time, the Jamaica Kingsmen, representing, of course, Jamrock, as we call it here regionally. Tell us about that prospect, returning to Jamaica and Sabina Park.
Yeah, it's been too long. Really exciting to be back here in Jamaica. It's where I'm speaking to you from now. So got an opportunity to go and experience some of Kingston's culture last night. And that's something that everybody should have an opportunity to do. I went to an amazing reggae dub venue and heard some great music, ate some great food. And then we're going to have some amazing cricket, which kicks off tomorrow night. Sabina Park has been away from CPL for far too long. One of the great venues, an exciting venue that's high scoring, lots of runs. And I know the passion that the people of Jamaica have for cricket and have for CPL cricket. So the most populous country in the English-speaking Caribbean, and it's been too long since we've been here. So we're very much looking forward to being back, and I can't wait for it to get underway tomorrow.
Of course, we know the model of the CPL is quite different to many of the franchise tournaments around the world, just by the geographic nature of this region. Your audiences are quite broken up, but still very vibrant, very passionate about the sport. The prospect of new franchises that you spoke about, possibly in St. Vincent, maybe in years to come, the return of Jamaica. What does that say for the brand of the CPL and, of course, the economic and financial standing of the tournament?
Yeah, I think it's really important. All of us at CPL, and I'm very fortunate to be a visitor to the region, but a frequent visitor and someone that loves it, is that CPL, it should be a Caribbean product with an international outlook. Our job is to showcase the best that the Caribbean has to offer. So the ability to do that in more places is really important to us. So we're very much looking forward to the continued expansion of CPL and it growing its footprint. It's already gone from 30 matches, I think it's 24 matches in year one to 39 matches this year. So that's important for us and I think important for the region, given that CPL is a significant economic driver. You couldn't get a hotel in St Vincent over this weekend, which can only be a good thing for an economy that's reliant on tourism.
When you look at, again, the impact that the CPL has had, the growth of the tournament as well, we looked at some years ago, there was talk about possibly attracting suitors to buy over the tournament. Where does that stand? And I guess, what does the future of the Caribbean Premier League look like in year 14?
Yeah, so I think for us, the key for the CPL is to continue to see it grow. I think, obviously the business side of it sits outside of my role, but we do well enough for us to be able to come back every single year and continue to grow and be successful. The key for us is sustainability and sustainable growth. That's always been what CPL has been about. So that's what we're looking to do. But then primarily as well, the other thing that's just hugely important to us is that experience for fans, both watching on TV and those watching around the world. When you're at a CPL game, you should feel that you're welcomed and you're entertained. There should be things going on all the time, whether it's dancers, whether it's the amazing stuff that we've got going on the big screen where you can use your phone to have yourself highlighted on the big screen. In St Vincent, whether or not it's the halftime acts that are strong regional artists that we've got playing with the halftime show that we've got going on. We should be finding a way for it to be the best possible value for money. And then if you're watching on TV, you should be watching thinking, I wish I were on into that. You obviously can't go and visit every CPL game. It's in 8 different countries, but you should be in a position where when you're seeing those guys waving their flags and blowing their horns on TV, you should feel that you're part of it and want to be there at an opportunity in the future.
Yeah, you just seem to be breaking up a bit, Peter. So at this point, I'd really like to thank you for joining us and, of course, discussing all that the CPL has to offer for this new 2026 season. And certainly we'll be chatting again as the season progresses.
Fair.
All right, Peter Miller there, the head of international communications with the Caribbean Premier League. Now in year number 14, continuing to grow, a record number of territories, 8 being visited this season. Of course, starting with Kingstown, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And of course, as of tomorrow night, the tournament will land in Kingston, Jamaica, to welcome back Jamaica's franchise, albeit under new management and new ownership, this time represented as the Jamaica Kingsmen. It's all happening this year, this season, and of course, matches will be brought to you exclusively. That's the TKR matches, the Trinbago Knight Riders, defending champions and record 5-time winners of this tournament. All of their matches will be broadcast live right here on CNC3, and all other matches will be shown a bit delayed for your consumption and enjoyment. We certainly look forward to continue to have you here. For now, though, that's where we have to leave this morning's program. I am Jassy Marik. On behalf of Bavita and all of our crew and staff here on CNC3 and the Morning Brew, we thank you. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I don't care what nobody say. Every carnival I done day. Plus I know all artists and only mass bands. Them say I'm mad and I'm mad.
You're watching CNC3. As an affiliate of CNN International, we now join their current programming.
American officials, including the Joint Chiefs Chairman